Can you also prove that these books have been corrupted from the books themselves, maybe through contradictions?
Absolutely, and that's a very good point, because you'll find that, especially, for example, let's take one of the deepest and most meaningful central tenets of Christianity, the crucifixion, the resurrection. Just look at the accounts of crucifixion in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and compare them with each other, and you'll find a shocking level of contradictions. And not just that, there's contradictions on many different fronts in the Gospels themselves. That's looking at the New Testament. The Old Testament is filled with contradictions. And I'll give you one example because I'm mentioning it. And I read this actually from William Lane Craig, of all people. And he mentioned that, and I'll quote him, in fact, or paraphrase him. He said that if you look at the biblical story in Genesis chapter 1, the very first page of the Bible, you're looking at the very first page of the Bible. And it said that, as you know, on the fourth day, God created the vegetation, the sun. And God created the vegetation on the third day, and God created the sun and the luminaries on the fourth day. So God created the sun and the luminaries on the fourth day. That's in Genesis chapter 1, verse number 6. And God created the vegetation, the plants and stuff on the third day. But if you look at Genesis chapter 2, verse number 5, it says no plant had sprung up yet. But already we found in Genesis chapter 1, verse number 6 that the plants had been there. So it's a contradiction if you just turn the page of the Bible. So much so that William Lane Craig said about this, that it's as if the author of the Bible didn't care if there was a contradiction in there. That's how embarrassing it was that even one of the notorious preachers and scholars of Christianity of the 21st century had to admit there's a contradiction, and he said this as if he doesn't care. Origen of Alexandria, who wrote On First Principles, one of the biggest ecumenical church fathers, said, what man of education will believe in this kind of thing? And this is one of the biggest scholars in the early days of Christianity. So contradictions are there in the Bible, the Old Testament, the New Testament, everywhere else. And it's very easy to see.